Ready for you, my brother? Welcome, 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 welcome back, Jackson, Mississippi today. Welcome back, Mississippi, and these United States of America. It's a much more sensitive time, so our eyes are on our brothers and sisters throughout this entire state. So today is definitely Make It Make Sense, Mississippi, which is our parent name and what we started with, to be honest with you guys. But welcome back to Make It Make Sense, Mississippi. I am your honored host, Tariq Abdul-Tawwab, along with my esteemed co-host, aka KP, aka Young Man. So you know what I'm saying, Young Man? That's what I'm referring to. A lot of times I'm on the phone, KP, when I'm talking to you. If I'm in the house, one of my sons will come up to me afterwards and say, I never said that. Because he heard me say Young Man, and he swears I'm talking about one of them. And I'll be talking about you, and I'll be saying, well, the young man's coming to do A, B, or C. So your title is causing confusion sometimes.
You refer to them as young man?
Yeah. That's what I refer to most of my young men in this community. They know. And listen, I went into a store. I refer to everybody that way because it's either respectfully or just to give you a little boost. And there was a security guard in the store. Big up to you, brother, if you listen. And I said, how you doing, young man? He said, nobody has called me young man in my entire life. And he was ended up being in his 30s. So I said, well, it's a good boost, because we all are young to somebody. So, yes, sir. Let me grab that from hold on one second.
Well, that reminds me of one of our shows like 2 years back when I said, young man is way better than YN.
Yes, you see, we think of things at the same time. I was thinking of that exact show when the YN term came out, and KP knows the only way I've ever referred to him is YM. Or any of your peers or anyone else that you've been around. So yeah, you said that I did not like that term YN, rightfully so.
Especially using it on such a political view. How they look at us. They don't even give us room to be young men anymore. They want us to be YNs. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. And I had a conversation with some of my peers about this a few months ago. And when one of the young ladies I was talking to said, you know what, you're right. And I said, I could have been the one using it a while ago, but you actually have 40-year-old African-American parents that are using that on their social media pages. Remember there was a song about what happened to a young man. It was part of the song, what happened to somebody? And that person had really been murdered. Oh my God, what happened to her?
That's right. That person is really a murder victim whose mother has to look at social media every day while other adults go to their job and talk about making lasagna and they missing the ground beef and oh my God, what happened to her? And so you got parents, the same adults that are pointing the fingers at these young people are going out there and they're, like you said, reinforcing that these things are okay. And a lot of times I'll talk to the women in my family specifically, and I'll just say this because the men just sing along to the rap songs. And I'll say, like, for example, to the window, to the wall. I remember one Thanksgiving, me saying the words out loud specifically, and oh, Tar, why would you? You didn't know you were listening to that? You didn't know that that's what you were listening to? And the majority of them didn't. So this is not an accusation. This is just a moment of awareness from the young man to us. We got to be very careful about what we repost, what we say, and what we think is okay. Because the moment someone calls one of our children that, then we are arms up. That child is standing in one of those streets, the less fortunate that does not have the guidance. You got to protect them too. You can't just protect your child when it happens. You got to make sure that it's not okay for them to be referred to in a way that implies that their life is less valuable, because that's what happens. Then next thing you know, one of them gets shot. The first thing you asking is, what did he do? That's the definition of value, life losing its value. Usually when someone dies, the first thing you say is, why did he have to die? Because death is always done, right? The first thing you say is, why did they have to die? You got it where our own people are looking at videos and saying, well, what did he do? As if there's something that's justifiable by death outside of trying to kill the person who killed you.
Yep.
So, I think that's a great point, KP. And I remember that show. I think it was the beginning of, I'll tell you what I think was the beginning of, and those of you who have been with us from the beginning, it was the beginning of us getting our adults to understand. And then when people accept things, you don't beat them up. How do I say? You let them acquiesce. You let them bow and say, you got a good point. You got to allow them room to say you got a point. And I think a lot of adults that were blaming our children out of frustration and misinformation, especially here in Jackson throughout Mississippi, have adjusted their tone, at least publicly, and have stopped leading with the problem is our young people. Drastically, and unfortunately, some of our politicians are out of step because they're not on the ground and they're still using that in some areas. But they're even being called out by community members saying, hey, time out. That's kind of weak for you to start with that. It's fine for you to address our children, but when they ask you what's the problem with your communities, for you to lead with a 13-year-old is kind of weak, because you have to have some responsibility for the policies, laws, effects, schools that led to this. So I just leave it there.
I think one of y'all had made a comparison one day. I was like, Well, when you inside of a household and a bunch of people is arguing and you got a dysfunctional family, you start with the kids.
That's right.
You start with the older gentleman.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. And a lot of times we talk about how backwards our community are and what's the problem. The problem is not necessarily in the children. The problem, to KP's point, is that we start bottom up. We punch down here. So you've got people that are actually saying the problem is coming from those that are supposed to be the most protected. Right. That's the irony. The problem is from those who, and you have it on both sides. You have the older people saying the young people, you have the young people saying the old people. Both of them are parties that are supposed to be ultimately protected by who? And that's when you see them Negroes not doing what they're supposed to do. That middle, my age. Come watch us. I promise you, we're going on 50. Watch that 45 to 60. Watch us. We're doing something. I guarantee you we're doing something. I come from that business world. That's who's that Dr. King to Barack Obama crowd, that's what we're going to start calling them. From King to Obama. That crowd in between that never had to tally up for what they were doing in office. All they had were F's, 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 and we were told that it's a C because of the white supremacy. We accepted that it was an F because of the white supremacy. I'm sorry, we were told it was an F because of the white supremacy, meaning our politicians told us between King and Obama, we're fighting as much as we can against white supremacy, and this is what we can get. A C minus. An F. We can't get anything. In fact, they were getting a C minus. They were going ahead and taking that money and those benefits between that C and that F and making sure that stayed with the small group of people that they came with. And they handed us the F. And that's what we're changing now. I think it's a beautiful thing. We don't want that F anymore. We want what you got. That's what is coming. The rest of us want what you got. Since it's so hard for you, Mr. and Mrs. Politician, with your Beamer and your big cars and since it's so hard, tell us how you got that. And there's some who will, because it's very doable. That's the ugly part. It's very doable. There's some that will sit you down and tell you, man, do this, put your money here, get your tax there. Yeah, it's doable. I'm definitely not judging your success. I'm saying that you seem to be succeeding in spite of us not succeeding, not separate from us.
You went through a filter. You went through something. You had to go through some type of system for you to forget where you came from.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And it happens now. They've gotten so deep into the schools, into the colleges, into the HBCUs. They've gotten to, when I say they, those components that want to take you away from looking at it a certain way. That's not the institution. An HBCU is an HBCU. But the leadership of that HBCU makes a difference of them welcoming who are known as agitators, folks that used to come to Tougaloo and steer things up on behalf of the people, to coming to today where you got Tougaloo folks that don't want you to bring folks on because they think they're going to be an agitator. So it's not the institution that was the problem there. That's the school, the folks that are in there that are the problem. So can you imagine Tougaloo University with our ancestors buried on their property, in their graveyard, saying we don't want a certain person to speak because they may be agitating for racial justice? You've lost your mind, and that's what's happening now. And that's personnel. That's not an institution. And that's what we have to do when we realize where that comes. But it'll link you. How did two votes come out of Tougaloo? Why is Tougaloo not vote? So there's a lot of questions you start asking yourself, and you answer those questions. We're just here to help you make it make sense. You know who controls Tougaloo votes. You know who's over Tougaloo. You know who Tougaloo loves and who doesn't. You know that. That's not what we're here to do as Ralph. We're saying make this make sense. How, when it's one of the most important elections in your city, only 2 votes come out of that area? How is it that when folks try to bring people like Angela Davis to speak, you get pushback because there may be folks along with them that are trying to fight for racial justice and are seen as agitators? So we're looking for a problem within the white institution. The problem is coming from our own.
They brought Charleston White on the campus.
Charleston White came on campus cussing and acting a fool. And you didn't hear one thing from any leader at Tougaloo. Not one. Maybe you did. I didn't. Not one from the board. But you try to bring, the first person that came to Tougaloo who was it? The other brother that was talking about Palestine, Mark Lamont Hill. Oh, yeah. We don't want that here. These are the people at the institutions you look at as historic institutions. When I say that we're being hijacked, now we understand why Horn didn't have to debate at Tougaloo. It's not the institution. It's the people. JSU, Horn didn't have to debate there either. All them students waiting, looking, reaching out and begging for a debate. From all of the people. Horn was the one they asked and he refused to come debate there. This is the writing on the wall that you thought we'd forget and wouldn't keep bringing back up. You've lost your mind, change the channel. We're going to go all the way back to step 1 over and over again. The goal of our show is the heartburn analogy. Yeah. You've been eating something that's killing you, killing your children, taking away all of our future. We've got to determine what it is so we can stop ingesting that. So when this comes back around, we won't be fickle and uneducated anymore. We got to take that one on the chest. All of us. Not just the ones who voted or didn't, but all of us got to take it. Because if I didn't get my brother to see, he didn't get me to see, we lost. So we were fickle and uneducated this time around. Bet you won't be next time. You see all them people from Ward 4 5 that showed up to City Council with list of everything that they asked to be done and wasn't looked at?
Ward 5? What is that?
Hardly, if I'm correct.
Okay, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, there was a whole group of people that showed up, and it was just a really long line of people. And I was so caught up in helping from a community aspect, helping the water response throughout the state of Mississippi. A lot of it kind of passed by on me, but yeah, no. They definitely they lined up and were just talking about things that they've been trying to get to their councilman, their mayor about. This is what's happening. This isn't dirty. This isn't talking about people. The chickens are coming home to roost, as the good brother Malcolm said. So Hartley's district now, where you just saw everything was talking about, we don't want poor people, any more poor people. When they were redistricting, we need some better off people. Well, time out. Now we've got a line of people saying, well, the things we brought forward to you as homeowners and good folks in here haven't been answered. Now, we'll see how that plays out. That's not a judgment, right? But that's the chickens coming home to roost. When you saw Councilman Stokes calling folks dope heads for 8 years, right? If not much longer, right? Sitting on people's cars in their front. Now you saw those chickens come home to roost because of the people, not because of anything else. The people got sick and tired. And what was that statement we said? We didn't make it. I think, but when people get fed up and lose patience, that's when they begin to stand. And now folks are starting to lose patience because they understand it doesn't have to be this way. So, yeah, the city council, go look at the meeting from the 27th, and please go look at it if you haven't. And you'll see folks line up the whole first half of the meeting. There might have been more than Ward 5 there, but I know there were a great amount of them from there, and they were interacting and talking about their experiences.
So what was Harley's response?
I didn't get that far because the volume it just kept. First off, I got to be there in person, and that volume causes me real problems. Yeah, it is, but we got to look at it. But that volume on there, and I'm saying that for a reason, you're all over the air. How can you have volume that low just for years upon years upon years? Is it that you don't want us to hear what's happening? I'm not saying that, but I'm 50. I can't sit up there with my ear to the speaker, and I got it turned up full blast, and I can't hear anything that's happening. Yeah, just push it, D, then just push it through, D, and just reposition it. I think that was very big to me that's happening, and there was something else that came out of we know what came out of City Council. Don't get me into a full recap. I produced it. But don't get me into a full recap. But yeah, that's the biggest thing that I had a problem with there, was that who didn't vote? And someone didn't vote on that as well.
Didn't vote on what?
What was the first act we talked about? Bring me back in. You know when I started.
The first act, you saying that's referring to the city council?
Yeah, and I was talking about Stokes and the first ordinance, the ordinance of not of the drug dealing ordinance. I was trying to think of the first ordinance of not having family that's drug dealers. I don't know where I was going, KP. You know, I start rapping all around the world, but I was thinking about all the other ordinances, hurtful ordinances being put in place by the city council.
Oh yeah,
and it's how that relates into everything that's there. But
So you were saying referring to the drug dealer ordinance? What they were saying? No dope dealers.
So go back to what you were saying, the homework assignment. You would give me we were doing a homework assignment, researching deeper into the city council meeting.
Well, I was saying, what was Harley's response?
That's right. So we'll look at that. Just make a tag to it. Thank you. We'll look at what the response was and we'll review it. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't get that far, like I said, because of the sound on there, but I got to go back in there and look at it and see what that was. And then we'll update people.
Oh, yeah. That's on the people now, it's in your face. It's the chickens that came home to roost.
The chickens that came home to roost. I got to go on anytime I say a mountain line. It takes me to
look, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. But that's what we're saying in each ward, where folks that are going through being held accountable. And this is a beautiful thing. And I hope that it just continues to just move higher and higher till it reaches the top of the top president, congressman, anybody that represents our interests. I pray that this level of thinking continues to climb up and up, especially as we sit in the wake of we're at 23 lives lost in this state right now, especially as we sit in the wake of watching one of the most disgusting responses by the state after having been given money for this disaster beforehand. To have 23 people dead, first off, is unacceptable. But now the question just comes down to who's really protecting Mississippi.
Are you referring to the snowstorm?
To the ice storms. Yeah, all of the storms.
Has anybody else spoken about this? No news articles, no blogs?
Not coming from the right people. I mean, I see folks like us.
The severity of it should be so national that we ain't got to talk about it. They should be calling in saying something.
Absolutely. Some people didn't even know
more than anybody.
Yes,
Mississippi lost more people than
anybody.
Yeah, Mississippi lost more people than anybody.
That's what I'm saying. It should be reported. It shouldn't be like 20% of it going on.
And at this part, I'm going to plug the number because this is where we want you to call in and give us your response, because this needs to be real-time response. Wherever in Mississippi you are, in the outskirts, let us know, and we've got a lot of responses. We've talked to a lot of people right throughout the state, but 601-948-5950. One thing we like to do is stay factual, but to the point of KP, and the newspapers haven't been reporting heavily on the loss of life at all and on what people are going through.
This is an ongoing thing.
This is an ongoing thing, you know.
This is what we call is a Mississippi Shuffle. There's plenty of ways to demonstrate it. This is none of the propaganda being packaged for, to be put in front of this. You know what I'm saying? Y'all probably wouldn't know about this if we didn't say nothing about it. Y'all would know that it's another ice storm coming, but y'all wouldn't know 23 people died from the last one. You know what I'm saying? So it's like they avoid like we had talked last show when he was talking about the icy roads.
Yes.
They avoid the cause and effect of what's really going on.
Yeah. Icy road, meaning icy road is the least of your concerns. We've got folks that we just got off the phone with that were stuck. 2 elderly folks, and I forget the county that they were in. There were so many stories. They were stuck inside of their house, a tree falling down, and they're just calling. They finally get to the Mississippi Rapid Response Coalition in Jackson, Mississippi. And then a good brother from the Mississippi Move, calls out to Lexington and to the other areas he knows and gets the police to go out to these people's houses to help them. And so, but you don't see any of the stories talking about this. They're not looking for it.
There's a lot of cases like that.
A lot of cases like that, absolutely.
But I know who did show up though.
The Mississippi Rapid Response Coalition. You got to talk about that. But I think that no buts. We've got to talk about it every night because the Mississippi Response Coalition. This is not the first time we brought them up. We fought the hard fight when we let people know, oh, you all over, you want the manual, you want this, and we fought through it. We talked facts only, right? And when it got to the point where we said, there's a lawsuit out there. Remember, we said there's a lawsuit out there by Mississippi Rapid Response Coalition, the ACLU, saying that Judge Wingate is giving too much leeway and that pretty soon these water things are going to hit the head. We were called racist. They were called all types of names. And then everything hit the head. And thankfully, I think people are starting to see, because listen, a disaster is okay if that disaster brings some light that allows you all to move forward in a better way. And I don't mean you want it to happen, but if what can come out of that disaster is a better tomorrow, then I think it can be okay. And I think one of the things that we learned out of that was that a lot of the people were standing away from Mississippi Rapid Response Coalition, but when we looked at the water, they were the only ones bringing a lot of that through. A lot of the stuff was just not getting done. So you think, and they're made up of organizations throughout Mississippi. You all know who they are at this point. It's just a courageous moment now. Now it's the moment of when people go around and start talking trash. Are you going to support the women and the men that have the nicer suits on and the nicer ties on and just don't hit the ground? And you know who's doing what, Mississippi and Jackson. You know who's been doing what since the pandemic. First off, let's just be very honest. You watch people steal accolades, steal credit, steal resources, steal water from where people had them stored. You watch that happen. And now it's just a time where you realize that if you're not truthful with yourself, those same people will turn around and steal from you. So I think it's very important to look at with these power outages still going on. Some residents are told 2 weeks to a month they're going to be without. So when the crisis hits, who's actually showing up? You look at Governor Reeves, and I just pulled this up. President Trump, on January 21st, this is February the 2nd, on January 21st, President Trump amended Mississippi's federal emergency disaster declaration, reimbursing the state $3.75 million with unprecedented speed as part of his promise to reform emergency management. So on the 28th, they got $4 million. So you got Parchman, where you got people freezing to death almost and burning things to stay warm. And now, how do they respond to that? By saying we're going to start putting in facial recognition tools so we can see who's telling on how bad we're treating them in the jail. That's what they said, right? And then you have 4 million and you got 23 people dead in the state. They don't care about anybody. That's the real key to that. They don't care about 23 million dead, and you're still telling people they're going to be out of service for 4 weeks. And you got $4 million in advance, not to mention how much money these power companies actually make and have in reserve. And knew this was coming. The whole world knew this was coming. But the old Mississippi Shuffle, like KP said, here it comes. Let the people suffer. Take the federal aid. And whoever can make it out that snow, you make it out that snow. And the next piece of aid that comes to help you after you didn't make it or did make it, we're going to take that too. And then when the aid comes for new jobs, we're going to take that too.
Just like, remember, we didn't talk about it in a while, but the opioid segment, right?
Yep.
You know, only 904. I'm reading right now. Only 945,000 has been spent on the opioid to for the addiction prevention, and there's 89 million left that hasn't been spent on anything.
And they're just gonna sit on that until you forget it's there.
Forget it's there.
They're just gonna sit on that till you forget it's there, and that's the same thing that Mayor Horn and his administration are doing to you in your city. These are parallels at this point. I will never go down a road just because it's easy to drive down. We used to potholes here. So I take these verbal problems, I keep going back to the uncomfortable. You're in the middle of and listen, if you know me outside of here, you know I don't say words that are incendiary, I don't try to spark this up. So if I go as far as to say you're dealing with the White Citizens Council, maybe I'll say that instead of the Klan since the physical violence isn't there. This is appropriate. You're dealing with an administration that is the White Citizens Council in blackface.
You going too far saying that there ain't no violence involved.
That's right. You're right about that. Because when you invite, and you know what? I'm going to go right back to, because this brother's correct, and we're going to talk about later in this show, 601-948-5950. You know, we've had a lot of people that have called up and have said, well, why are you talking about this administration in this way? And we say, you mean, why are we saying what they've done? Let's give you the platform. So every single listener we've called in, and you can call in if you're listening at home and you think you have a better shot, because we want this to be, we want to know something we just can't see, that there's some secret plan to help us in the end, right? But if you see something this administration is doing to move us forward, please call us in and let us know that. And we've given person after person after person support the platform on our show to tell us one thing. We had one fellow that we got down to, he couldn't tell us any policy, he couldn't tell us any planning. Just give me a thought.
Just give me a chance.
I said, just give me a chance. I said, give me a thought, the brother says. This administration says you agree with. So that's called, tell me what
his reply was, give me a chance.
Give me a chance. Yeah. He told us, remember, finally he said, I'll call you back. He was respectful. He recognized it. He said, let me give you a call back after I think about it. Still ain't called us back. The last show, if you want to recap, the last show, we had a brother call in to try to throw us off beam, who we never gave the number out. He said he'd been listening to us, but didn't understand what we were talking about. So you all have to understand, we're getting closer to a common thought set, and that common thought set is just make it make sense.
And I had a little little situation at home when I thought about that whole thing that happened with him. I was like, you know how long he had to be sitting down through all our shows. He decided to call him at one time. He said we was incorrect about some information just to say, oh, get your facts straight, and I still think you should get on the chance. And we didn't give you the number, so you had been sitting there like at least 4, 5, 6 shows.
Yes.
God,
yeah, just waiting. What type of life is it? Just waiting for your chance to try to disrupt progress. And I love that the voices, people know the voices. So you can't get mad at us. Oh, you telling people who I am? You telling people who you are. I tell everybody who I am. KP tells everybody who they am when we get on the record. So we make it very known.
You shouldn't have no problem.
You shouldn't have any problem with what you're right. What you're saying is okay. But these folks, people, are being sent by the people that we talk about, whether it's directly or indirectly. That's where they're coming from. So if I say that Mayor Horn's administration is doing A, B, or C, then somebody that's benefiting from what they're doing is going to call in every time and say, hey. Well, they don't call in anymore because unfortunately they get filleted. They just get on the wrong side. That's all. But you're absolutely right. That's the reality of what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
We're dealing with recap Tougaloo topic. Just got in car. So we were talking about Tougaloo, and we'll go back to the beginning. You know I spin off, so it's hard for me to recap my record. KP, how did we get on Tougaloo? We were talking about the
Angela Davis.
Angela Davis, thank you. So we were talking about the fact that, when Angela Davis almost didn't happen a few times, right? And one of the key things that happened there was a lot of pushback from people within Tougaloo. Yeah, agitators within. Yeah, that's right. So, and Angela Davis addressed this when she spoke. She said that I am an agitator. That's what we did. That's how you toppled white supremacy and the pain we went through. This woman is sat on death row for her beliefs, okay? Almost got killed by the state for her beliefs, right? And so then they talked about, while they were on stage, how the whole thing almost didn't happen because folks within Tougaloo didn't like the fact that some of the speakers might have been agitating for racial justice. That's crazy to come from Tougaloo. Now, I've been talking about Tougaloo when Horn wouldn't debate there, and I didn't hear anyone from Tougaloo yelling out. I said the same thing about JSU. We need a debate here, right? I said the same thing when 2 votes came out of Tougaloo, and I don't know if that's legitimate, but there were a few votes coming out of Tougaloo. And something that has member of Congress's names on a library and all these great people, there should no way in heck. You got people in that cemetery that died trying to work towards the right to vote, right? And for 2 to 3 votes to come out of Tougaloo and 2 to 3 votes to come out of JSU in any election is why you hear me question the HBCU nature of the people running it. You're never going to take away the fact that it's an HBCU. Jackson State has bullet holes in front of it. You can't touch that. It's the people that are making these decisions. And so, sister, that's what I was talking about when I touched on Lou. And I can go into that a lot deeper. I've been yelling this out to you all for a while, since all of the elections, where you saw these universities turn their face away, and you can see it. And I have children at these schools. And you can see it in some of the way that the history teachers are giving them the information, and maybe they're just ignorant and they don't know. But what we stuck on was that 1964 Freedom Civil Rights Act and the 1965 Hart-Celler Act. And you got folks going to these colleges believing that black people just can't get it right. That's why we don't own our stores. Believe that the Jewish people came in and took over the stores and we had a shot at it, but we just couldn't fight them enough for it, so we just lost it. You've got people letting your children believe that, so then when they come out and they run from Mississippi, you wonder why. You done told them that no one in Mississippi is worth a grain of salt. Instead of telling them the truth, that the moment Hoover passed that Civil Rights Act, he got together with his other racist buddies because this man pushed back against anti-lynching legislation. We was just asking, can you stop hanging us? And Hoover said, no, yeah, that's a little too progressive. Got together with his little racist buddies and said, how can we stop what we just gave him? Hart-Celler Act. Let's bring in people that look like them, but that are already over there killing Africans anyways. That's a whole nother story. So they come in with an anti-black perspective from India, from East Asia. They come in with that anti-black perspective anyways, and they got to vote Republican or we'll kick them out. So let's bring them in as families. Go read the Hart-Celler Act. Let's bring them in as families, so that way they can concentrate on everything those Negroes were about to get in this act. Business families that can go to school, take advantage of everything. You see all these folks with high education. I'm not knocking them for taking advantage of it, but they walked right into it handed to them. Come into these neighborhoods. Go take over their stores. Make sure you don't vote Democrat, and make sure you never collaborate with those Negroes. Because if you do, you'll be on the first thing smoking back to India. You'll be on the first thing smoking back to Asia. You'll be on the first thing smoking back to Africa. Now you fast forward and you got problems with folks like Tariq Nasheed and the FBA, even though I got issues with a lot of people and how they say things. But you got a problem with them brothers and sisters saying we're foundational black Americans, like there's not a reason for them trying to claim what came from our ancestors. You must be stupid. You must be stupid if you got a problem with that foundational side of it. You know what it is? You are. You're ignorant. You don't know what was taken from you. You really think the Watts riots are the reason the stores ain't under black ownership there. You really think that we sat up here and burnt our stores out. You really believe that garbage you learned. You didn't just learn it to inform yourself more through experience. You really believe it because you don't know about the Hart-Celler Act. So educate yourself. And then once you educate yourself, stop walking around talking about we just can't get right. And instead, when that sister that called in and said the Indian store and told her why are you people so lazy and you just don't want to work, you can respond accordingly. Say this free stuff only gonna last for so long, partner. You can't walk on someone else's street, but for so long before they start to realize, yeah, buddy, that's my street. You chasing me off with these sticks in these stores because you don't want me to realize that. And you know, the moment we calm down and stop worrying about that and then go to the courts and say this is ours, you got a problem. Or bigger, the moment we just don't spend our dollar with you. Go get our cup of coffee somewhere else.
That's right.
Yep.
I hope see my
I seen
sister.
this video online. This man tried to go in the store and he tried to buy some alcohol for $20, but the alcohol was like $40. And the man was like, nah, the Indian man was like, nah, get out. And he was like, well, I can't get my 20 back. He was like, nah, you ain't getting that back either. Mind you, this is a black neighborhood. Now you're sitting watching.
That's right. And you see it, and it's all sprinkled all over the social media. And what you have to understand is those are people that are closing in on what's theirs. This was handed to them in the 60s, and they'll be danged if you take it from them, right? So they're holding on to what's theirs, but the one thing that they are relying on is your ignorance, our ignorance. That's what they're relying on. Walk by that store every day and say, you know what, we're going to pull together. One person from this neighborhood is going to get in that car, is going to drive out to a different place, is going to get I don't care if it's toiletries, I don't care if it's diapers, I don't care if it's Newport. Stop letting these stupid people make you believe you should be you don't need that anyways. But they drive their little butt right over the rhythm to get it for themselves. Want for your brother what you want for yourself, and then maybe we'll have something that could push forward here. Maybe we'll all, as our producer loves to say, push down on that net at the same time, right? So you get us some, that's what we used to do. What you think we did here in Mississippi when we boycotted all them stores? Someone that was moving would go out to another store, get the stuff we needed, and bought it back. If we're trying to break these folks that don't respect us, any other store is better than that. Because the purpose you're doing is breaking them. Stop thinking so deep. You ain't got to have a whole empire of stores built up. Just not there. Just break them. Just break the ones chasing you out the store with sticks. Well, you know, if we do that, our money's still going to Ridgeland. Stop thinking three steps ahead. Just break the one that took what was yours. Why are you worried about Ridgeland? Why are you worried about Ridgeland? Your ancestors would have had stores here, Greenville, Sunflower, all these places in Delta that we would have been. That's what you need to worry about. Stop trying to look for your heaven in someone else's hell. Madison, there's so many bricks there. Okay. Okay. So that's all I can say to that. At this point, if you don't realize what Madison is your heaven. If you don't realize that's your hell because everything that came from there came off your back, then you're a fool. And a fool is not an insult. It just means you're not informing yourself. Talking about somebody, but they have all brick everything. That's called all brick money, baby. Cocaine style. Yeah, cocaine style. If I can make 10 times off it, if I can make $1, $10, yeah. If I take your money, Jackson, I can do whatever I want. And if you think I'm wrong, some of you educators call in and say I'm incorrect. That every time some type of flood money came in, the private institutions got new jumbotrons, and Jackson State got a promise of $50,000 if they did everything they were supposed to.
They sitting on unspent money.
Now you got this thing sitting on this, but now you got this thing happening at Jackson Academy where a white parent there got mad because and told all the secrets. All the secrets we knew in the black community because our children are the ones getting recruited. They're recruiting over there just for sports, and they kicked my son out. And now you got all these black folks jumping on. Isn't this interesting? Shut your mouth. It was interesting 20 years ago when they was raping the public school system. It was interesting when the Redeemer Church got put their person inside the Mississippi Charter School Organization, Candace Robbins. It was interesting when Zach Gallen, whatever that boy's name is from Empower, Mississippi, is a ruling elder right over on North Side, bleeding your city up on every disgustingly racist platform that exists from Jackson Jambalaya on to Super Talk, just talking about what he's going to do. That's when it was interesting. Now y'all want to sit up there, man, interesting. They've been doing this for years, and I'm going to put it out there. Yo, shut up. You ain't putting nothing out there. You was shutting your mouth when your baby was over there getting that money, when your baby was in them schools, and I've had babies I've tried to put in schools, and I was just as loud then as I am now. Because what you love to do is put your child in and hope that as long as my child's okay, I ain't going to say nothing. But then as soon as your child gets drugged, you out there begging for Martin Luther King to come back. This is just wrong, man. Go on somewhere, man. Fix up our schools. Fix up our own, right? And let's focus on people draining our community instead of worrying about what a white parent got again. So you got a whole nother civil war happening in that Jackson Academy. You got two white parents fighting over that black kid that came in here and did well in sports. I don't mind the sports going well, but you're not going to take playing time from my child. That's what it's all about. And you got these fools really got people going on some type of movement against you. But we got to stand up for the parents that got their kids kicked out. You are, boy, let me tell you. Can I borrow $5? If you're jumping onto that movement, can you send me $5? I'll pay you back today.
That new approval Prado just did. The Madison County has begun an approval process to develop a new 50,000 square foot Madison County Conference Center within the Prado Vista at Ridgeland Development.
Woo! No, I didn't. No, I did not. Well, this is called Speed Talk Radio, y'all. So if you all with us, we'll jump topics. No, I did not know that Prado. He did say that one time.
He developed a new 50,000 square foot Madison County Conference Center within the Prado Vista at Ridgeland Development. As part of the Prado Vista vision, Gabriel Prado developer who brought Top Golf to Mississippi was a 250 room luxury hotel adjacent to the Madison County Conference Center. He said the hotel would include four restaurants and would be the first hotel in Canada, Mississippi.
Well, let me just say it's $49 million because he got 1.25 of that from y'all, Jackson. The city council gave him that in tax incentive. So at $49 million and you're $1.25 million. So you're gonna have to go look on that, pull that order, and think you're gonna be able to rent an apartment there. That's all. We've done talked about the gentrification KP's alluding to here. We done talked about the fact that Gabriel Prado, the man he's talking about, who opening the apartments, Prado's Loft, is part of your mayor, John Horn's transition team, his entrepreneurial transition team. We talked about the fact that Surinder Singh, also on your mayor's transition team, was the leader of the Indian Store Owners Association, who owned 90% of gas stations in Jackson. Now, all of a sudden, you're seeing most of those gas stations transition over to Don Gabriel. Don Gabriel Prado. Don Gabriel, that's just like a mix. That's what's happening in Jackson. So all of those stations you see in the Don Gabriel, guess who that is? That's Gabriel Prado's baby brother, Daniel Prado. They all went to Belhaven and had a good old snowy time together there after music parties. And if you're from here, you know what it is. Had a good old snowy time up here. This is who you're talking about. Love the girls.
What you say they used to the winter storm?
Yeah, they used to them winter storms. They wade right through them. They wade right through the very little preference in the females. They just like it. Man, like an old jazz player, right? So this is who you're talking about is just invested in men. Now this is also Prado that used to fly in jets with Lieutenant Governor Holzman. He said, what was one of your favorite experiences? Because this brother used to work with Tate at I think was the Redevelopment Authority. That's who's helping to take over Jackson now, you all. And I'm sorry to you all that knew what was going on. And now you're snapping your fingers because you were just going to try to stay quietly while it all happened. And then in another 3 years after the gentrification took place, you were going to go down to one of the community centers and have a Kwanzaa celebration and talk about how we've been ravaged and how you need to vote me in the office. You all know that story, right, Mississippi? Yeah, we stopping that from happening. That's why we saying names and pulling numbers. So when they swivel back around in 3 years and we're looking at a downtown that we can go to maybe for your husband's birthday or your wife's birthday, I'm going to take you downtown and buy you one of them expensive meals, which is what it'll be. And then I'm going to go over there where that Piggly Wiggly was on State Street and we're going to go inside Whole Foods. We can't afford much of the stuff, so we're going to get ourselves a little candy bar because the price is going to be really high because that's how you gentrify. Then where that Burger King used to be, right? And where that Phillips, the Ellis Seafood used to be, and where that, yeah, we're going to go inside there. You already see the high end being built next. Who builds that high end of a building next to a Phillips Seafood? I'm not knocking the sister building it. She knows something you don't. I certainly don't think she wants her high end customers smelling seafood all day. Make it make sense, Jackson. Go and drive down there. Look at what's happening to you. Fondren's getting connected. It's setting up a whole corridor that you will have no part of. And your mayor that's a black Democrat, he's not helping it. I'll say that, especially for my listeners that are jumping in. We got quite a few around the country. He's not helping it. He's not aiding them. He's not inefficient. This is his transition team doing it. Don Gabrielle gas stations taking over. You brothers walking out. I was behind you in the line when they tried to charge you, brother, call me if you... They tried to charge you $17 for that beer. You were like, what, the name? And you went and put that beer back. Thankfully, you got the beer back for KP's guy who got his money taken, and the guy told him no. And what do you think they're going to do? Why do you think they're doing that? Why do you think all of a sudden they're telling law-abiding people that 20 is mine? They got a separate number for Capital than JPD. Sips T. They know what they're going to do when you got a problem. They're going to call Capital. You ain't want to listen when the Mississippi Rapid Response Coalition, when the previous mayor, when all the people throughout the U.S. stood up and said HB 1020 is going to be the beginning of the end for Jackson. No, we need more police. These young kids. There it is. These young kids. These YN. There it is. You lost everything talking about some young kids.
You got a bunch of Jeffrey Walkers walking around, you know, that slam them.
Yeah, a bunch of Jeffrey. Okay, so the Jeffrey Walkers, they got smart, right? So your mayor, and please, let me just say this number one more time. It's a quiet Monday. 601-948-5950. And I want to hear some of you all, you can call me from I answer anonymous, guys. That's why I answer anonymous, because I understand sometimes you don't want to say anything with the fickle folks that got your back. And I mean that. But Mayor Horn, and this is for my legal experts here in Mississippi, this is for my professors, Jackson State, Alcorn, Valley State, JSU. When you're listening, as if you're a legal professor, and God, parents, can you pass this to one of your students? When it gets to the point, I will not tell my child, because I won't use my parenthood to force my children to push my method ahead, right? But tell your children to ask their professors about this, right? So you have, talking about Walker, so what KP, tell them what you're referring to when you say we're going to have another Jeffrey Walker.
As far as him being...
some people don't know who he is.
Oh, okay. Well, Jeffrey Walker is a Capitol police officer. He was recently indicted for slamming a man on the hood of a car and busting his teeth out his mouth.
Didn't he bite him too?
And he bit him, yeah, and he headbutted him. And when he went on the ground, he started kicking him also. And he really took the stand to make himself look innocent. He really thought he was doing the right thing.
He really thought he was going home, I think.
Yeah.
So in light of that, when you say that's something that the current administration had no problem with, they were fine with Capitol coming in. They even got together with Capitol coming in. They were very good with that altogether. You have to look at what Mayor Horn just tried to do a moment ago on the 27th. Yeah, go ahead.
Have you addressed the assistant chief situation?
Oh, Grizel. Yes, thank you. In order. You definitely chime in there. 948-5950. So Assistant Chief Grizel resigned. He resigned. Like Chief, first let's back. The first Mayor Horn came in office. We're going to take it all the way back, y'all. Me and KP was sitting up there telling you, right?
Assistant Chief
The Assistant Chief resigned. So first Mayor Horn moved in and said the handcuffs off. Let's remember everything, you all. Because remember how gleeful people were? Hey, we know we're going to stop these YNs. So first Mayor Horn said the handcuffs off. Chief Wade said, I quit if the handcuffs are off. Remember that.
After he brought the ACLU.
After he brought the ACLU in. Chief Wade said, ACLU, you need to come look at what's happening here. The chief of police said that. Then he said, I quit if the handcuffs are off. Now I'm just making my own word, but I quit. So now we have the Assistant Chief Grizel not just resigning, but saying that all he ever wanted to do was help his people. And now he's being pushed out. Now, I don't know why y'all would bring that to me. Yep, he's being forced out. I got it popped right up. Now, when you bring things to me, you're going to get the sandwich, you're going to get the bread, you're going to get the mayonnaise too, right? So the first thing is, let's look at what happened in there. So you remember back when they had that CCTV and Capitol wanted that CCTV, right? We want to be able to see the whole city. Gazelle said no. I remember this one article where he was saying no, we're going to push back in giving that CCTV, right? It was Jackson. I think that was the previous mayor. The new mayor comes in. Something takes place, politica, blah, blah, blah. Now Gazelle saying, I got to quit. Are y'all seeing the writing on the wall?
Now, check this. Why ain't none of the Capitol police officers quit?
They're getting in their way. So he's either one of two reasons by that. So from Wade, we can start to look forward thinking, to KP's point. Did you quit because of who's coming in or because of something you did? Clearly it's not something you did because you're too belligerent on the way out. Now, as someone that's watched police business, most police, if they're demoted, they want to stay within the force and then fight that from within the force, from the police union through all the things they have to fight in. The fact that he left rather than stay to fight it and potentially win and get that job, that next job up, that speaks a lot. Why did you leave, Chief Wade? Why did you resign, Assistant Chief Gazelle? This is Tarek Abdul-Tawwab speaking. Let me tell you my take on it. You can't leave us in a burning building with flames still inside the wood and not communicate to us that the flames are there. It's no longer enough to say, I'm not a part of it, I'm going to walk away, Chief Wade. It's not enough for you to walk away if there's still flames jumping around that building that's going to burn the rest of us. It's not enough, Assistant Chief Gazelle, to say this is political, because that sounds personal. That hurts you personally. But if it's big enough for you to step away, eventually you got to come tell us what the heck is going on. And that's really for Chief Wade. Gazelle is newer. And I spoke highly of Chief Wade on the show. I was hoping that would be the next chief, and he would remain that. But at a certain point, my people, I'm talking to you now, making make sense, audience. You've got to demand more than, hey, look, man, 20 years later, yeah, I saw him stabbing y'all. I stepped away. I didn't want nothing to do with that woman. Even had you told me he had a knife, maybe I could have done something different. That's what I'm saying right now. This is not the time for you to step, because you know what it sounds like then to me? This doesn't sound like, I'm not putting this on anybody.
Don't want that blood on my hands.
Then it sounds like, the blood's on you, but it sounds like you're worried about your personal emergence. Because when you say it's political or not saying nothing else, you don't want to hurt someone else's feelings. You don't want to make someone else uncomfortable that may affect the opportunities you get later. Man, I watch my own children lose trips to colleges, don't get to go to Tuskegee. All the one day that they're excellent, the next day they're getting removed and someone else gets put in their plate. I watch opportunities being taken from those connected with us because we speak the truth. The cowardliness. We're through with that, man. Imagine that if I left the house and I was like, hey, man, I just got to get out of here. I'm going to leave you. What's going on? I don't tell you. And this damn carbon monoxide flowing through that house. But at a certain point, we got to stop worrying about who's doing it to them and worry about the ones that could tell us. Because if you turn around in 10 years, Chief Wade, and write a book called What Governor Tate Did, because we have stopped Governor Tate. No, but we can figure out how to get you to tell us what's happening. And to my people, you got to start pressuring. You got to get sick and tired of being an uncomfortable one. And when you get tired of being an uncomfortable one, that's when you'll step up and you'll start asking for something different. Governor Tate comes out, the state of Mississippi has come out, and this is what I'll say. The Governor Tate's policies and the state of Mississippi's policies are killing Mississippians. I'll just say that straight out. Policy. 15 out of every 1,000 babies dying, killing Mississippians. Close down every hospital near some of these rural areas so that people got to go 75 miles far, killing Mississippians. Closing down schools everywhere, closing down hospitals everywhere, closing down mental health programs everywhere, killing Mississippians, making homeless a crime. I wonder how many of them 23 people that died during this storm, it was a crime for them to go ask for help. Am I exaggerating or am I not? You be the fool. The crime says I can't ask for help. Is there anything in that legislation that said, unless it's an ice storm? So you got somebody that will go ask, I'm not going to ask, I don't want to go to jail. This is what you created. Meanwhile, Judge Henry Wingate, the group he calls racist, the Mississippi Rapid Response Coalition, we pulled the numbers because I've been using some of their information to repost. 2,500 meals given out. Ask the governor how many meals he gave out, and you think you need to keep supporting these coward leaders and politicians that tell you because I'm black, follow me. But the Mississippi Rapid Response Coalition gave out 2,500 meals, 1,100 cases of water. 5 generators to women's centers. We see notes coming in from the state saying that they got 500 generators and we don't know where they're going. They handed out coats, hand warmers, 150 blankets. I wrote everything down. And they coordinated with each local government, the same local governments that walked away when they tried to get help. Better than me. They still coordinated to try to get these people things. And you got friends. You got people on your timeline that'll tell you, Mississippi Rapid Response was the only one that bought me water down here. I had a person just call me on the phone to try to get to someone in that organization because they left a watch in Belton or somewhere. Biloxi, they're just trying to get food down there.
That's Brooks' watch.
Yes. Yes. We got one of the people here, yeah. So they're trying to help her get it back because they're just so grateful that folks came from Jackson. And you got black politicians that come from these areas that do nothing for them. Make that make sense. The state manages statements. Mississippi Rapid Response Coalition managed survival since this has started. I'll be the first to say it. So you got to call us in. Jump on the Facebook page if you're still without power. Any different story, tell us who helped you. The state, the city, the neighbors. We're changing everything because we're giving people platforms to respond. So when these people try to come and talk on the low, it doesn't get believed by anybody. Well, why didn't you just respond to them when they put the platform out there? So I think that it's very important that we hold folks accountable. Now, I put up something that I was trying to put up on our Facebook page, and I didn't get it on there safely. But one thing people have to understand about these storms is that if you don't like the way that the power outage is being handled by your power company, I don't care if it's a co-op, right? The Mississippi Public Service Commission is a state agency that reviews consumer complaints related to power outage restorations. Residents may file a complaint when concerns remain after contacting their electric provider, including issues related to delayed restoration, access limitations, or unresolved safety conditions. Even if your electric services provided, don't believe the lies and misinformation, because some of our own people don't know. Even if your electric service is provided by a cooperative, the Mississippi Public Service Commission still accepts consumer complaints related to power outage restoration and associated outcomes. If you go to the PSC website, if you don't believe me, go to the complaint form and look at that drop down. You're going to see Delta Energy, you're going to see all the co-ops pop up in there. Regulatory is what the co-ops don't have to go through the PSC for. Price setting, that's separate. But the complaint about service quality, which is what people are complaining about, being told a month out of service after this power company had months to prepare for this, you better file a complaint with that Public Service Commission or it didn't happen. Because when this is over, those in our community are going to try to rewrite the narrative as they usually do. Next thing you know, Mayor Horn will have responded to 3 people stuck in a house somewhere, would have jumped over a pole and pulled down some trees. And I'm saying that because this is what that man in that administration has done since Blossom Apartment. Nothing, and attached their efforts to all the community organizations and pretended that they were part of that. Where's the cease and desist? You cease and desist from doing that type of thing. How about that? I'm sending out the cease and desist from Make It Make Sense, Mississippi. Cease and desist the foolery and tell them, we've got other people that were stealing water in some of these places closer to the Delta from our communities. We'll talk about that when it comes up. But people really have to understand that the Public Service Commission is not out of this. Anyone telling you they can't do anything is a liar. They are not regulatory oversight. They are there for complaints. And if the complaint is around service delivery, they still have to take that complaint. So go look on Mississippi Rapid Response Coalition. Look on our website. We'll post it, but we'll post the numbers all throughout Mississippi. We'll post a link to tell you how to find who your commissioner is. So you can call your commissioner and pressure them. Right? Make sure that we just don't let these people get away with not servicing us when they got hundreds of millions of dollars and on the state website every day, they're bragging about what they're doing for another part of that just doesn't look like us. So I think it's very important that we bring that up. KP, anything you want to add to that?
I would like to do a chart on how much unspent money and unspent money that's been being used in Mississippi. Like the whole chart.
Yes, it's necessary.
It's very necessary.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll put it on our website. A few things KP brought to my attention, our producer, some things to look out for tomorrow's show. Bail restriction bill. There's a bill that was just introduced that proposed limit organizations from bailing out more than 3 people a year, and it was put forth by the bail bondsmen. So when you talk about organized slavery, now you're trying to introduce a bill that says you can't bail out folks when they're locked up, right? So that's something to keep a good eye on, because that impacts more people sitting in jail, more forced plea deals, fuller jails, and families are going to pay the cost at that point. Those high-tech cameras that are getting installed downtown while Grizel retires, they're installing their own CCTV downtown, real-time cameras that they're putting down there to protect the good residents of Jackson. And that's how Babanasi said it when he said he's going to bring in good tenants into downtown Jackson. So now they're putting up cameras to protect those good tenants, not you. They're going to be monitored by Capitol Police and partners. So JPDs for the rest of you, Capitol Police will monitor that. And they're promoted as crime-fighting tools. So that's something to really take a look at. And what we want to ask ourselves leaving today and going into tomorrow is whether these type of tools make us safer, or is it creating a new neighborhood within Jackson, Mississippi that we will have little access to, but certain black folks that have to monitor some of these deals will be able to go to every day and eat, because their bank accounts are sitting with what was left at that table for you. And instead of splitting it evenly, they went ahead and they ate it all. So jump on our website when you get off of here. Make it make sense, Jackson, JXN. Please follow us so if our voice is ever lessened, you're still connected. And until tomorrow, for my co-host
Yeah,
and myself, Tariq Abdul-Tawwab, we love you, Jackson. We'll see you tomorrow. Same time, same place.